Hi, this is Margaret DeCio, and as a master trainer for A Matter of Balance, I am going to today do a refresher or a yearly update for all coaches. And just to let you know, I'm sure as I go through this, I'll be being recorded. It's a little different than how it'd be if we were doing this in person. And I wish we could do it in person, but to make it easier for coaches to be able to watch this update as they have time available, I'm doing it in this recorded method. And I already know from having worked on this that I'll make errors as I speak as we go along, but I'm going to try to keep this as informal as possible and try to help with some updates. Well, actually, not too many updates, but refreshers on doing the Matter of Balance classes. Okay. First, I wanted to talk about what's happening with aging resources and Matter of Balance. Due to the pandemic, nationwide, no Matter of Balance classes were available after March of 2020 for quite some time. They did, after about a year, they started doing a virtual class, but first they had to make sure of the efficacy that it worked as well with virtual, and they did find out that it did. So in the fall, maybe it's like they did start that you could take a training and you had to be trained specifically in virtual Matter of Balance. We had decided that we did not have the time or manpower to do that because you had to have 3 people to do a virtual Matter of Balance class because you needed the 2 coaches and then 1 person that just helped the participants with technology. Also, of course, with doing it virtually, we could only assist people who had the technology, the computer, to be able to watch their Zoom classes. And we felt that that would leave many of the people that we'd like to serve out. And also the exercises are only done in the virtual version of Matter of Balance must be done seated because there was the fear that people at home alone doing exercises standing could take a fall. So we decided because of that not to provide the virtual version. But if you would like to do that, they do have programs through Maine Health, and please let me know and I can get you information on that. Also, I have cut back on my hours because I will be retiring, but for now I am continuing as a master trainer. And I will do that for a while, even on a volunteer basis. But at some point, when I'm no longer available, we'll make sure to get you assigned to a new master trainer. Here at Aging Resources, we have hired, she's actually both our dietitian and our wellness coordinator, and she'll be overseeing evidence-based programs through Aging Resources. The ones that she's Stephanie Lebenz. Stephanie is actually a Tai Chi leader, and she's been doing quite a few Tai Chi classes, which have been just very successful. She and another staff member, Cherie Huffer, have recently been trained as coaches for Matter of Balance, so they'll be continuing the program too, and working with volunteers and others to coach Matter of Balance. Stephanie we are partnering to help promote Walk with Ease, which is another evidence-based program. It's not actually an evidence-based fall prevention program, although it does help with falls, but it is through the Arthritis Association, and it's supposed to help with movement and less pain for people with arthritis. Another really good program, which people can do either in a group or they can do it on their own using a book and their coaches that they can have to talk to on the phone or virtually. So if you're interested or think you know people that would be interested in Walk with Ease, please let me know about that and we'll get you connected. Stephanie is also looking into a program called Healthy Steps for Older Adults, which is another evidence-based fall prevention program. And it is only 4 hours long. One of the things that we've found over the years is that sometimes people are not, older adults are not willing to say that they'll come to 8 sessions of something. That's too much of a commitment. So we thought if we could do this 4-hour program, maybe we could get more people into or thinking about working with fall prevention. Now, we know with just 4 hours, they aren't going to get the same results as with this, with Matter of Balance with the 8 hours, but still we feel that could be helpful to people. So that's something that we're looking into with the other area agencies on aging in the state, but we haven't done anything with that yet because you need to get people trained as like master trainers for that class, and it's somewhat costly. So we're just seeing what our options are. Also, because there are more programs that are being done virtually, we're talking with the other area agencies on aging in the state about sharing virtual. If they're doing Matter of Balance virtually, then maybe we could get some of our, because it wouldn't matter where in the state the person was living, to get on their computer and be part of either Matter of Balance. Another class that's done virtually is Better Choices, Better Health. So that's the good thing about virtual programming. Of course, the bad thing, as you know, is that you don't have that interaction, the same type of interaction with a group, and the groups do really tend to bond over their 8 sessions, but it still has some really good components also. Okay, so for today, with this refresher course, the things we're going to cover are just general fall information, the role you have as a coach, the components of Matter of Balance. We're going to talk about cognitive restructuring because that's such a big part of these workshops. We're going to talk about fidelity. And at the end, I talk about exercises, and then there's going to be actually a different video that you'll have that will provide to you with the exercises, so you can just do a review of the exercises. Okay, so the problem of falls. Of course, we all know it's a major cause of injury and death. They're the leading cause of injury hospitalization in the United States. For any age, falls are the leading cause of hospitalizations, or all ages in general. And 1/3 to 1/2 of older adults acknowledge a fear of falling. And they say 1/3 of people over the age of 65 fall each year. And I honestly kind of think that's a low number. But falling is a huge problem. And the other thing, it's not just the fall itself and the disability it can lead to, but falling often leads to depression and decreased mobility, and therefore decreased social interaction. It can just increase frailty and increase enough fear of falling that start to be deconditioned. So people lose their strength and, as we said, mobility. So 1/3 or 1/2 to 2/3 of falls occur around the home. And usually it's doing a very routine activity, getting dressed, getting in and out of the shower or tub, getting on or off the toilet, things like reaching for things in a cupboard. So just going up and down the stairs in the home, up and down stairs outside of the home. My husband actually recently fell and he said, well, it's on the back steps and then I wasn't. And you hear that often, that people aren't even sure why they fell. But oftentimes it's simple things of slips, trips, just something catches a person's foot. There's some reason they're off balance. It can be getting up too quickly and becoming lightheaded or dizzy. Medications. Their falls usually are not caused by just one issue. It's a combination of things. So things that unstable gait because of a medical condition, or unstable gait and then there's a throw rug around, or difficulty lifting your foot and catching your toe on the sidewalk. So there's normally more than one thing that's going on. So it could be partially physical things or health conditions, and then you combine that with an environmental hazard and you really have a recipe for some disaster. But a large portion of falls are preventable. So that's why we have Matter of Balance. We talk about both the physical things that can be done to increase strength, flexibility, mobility, and then the environmental things that can be done to decrease falls. This is a chart I think is just very telling when we talked about that. These are national estimates on the 10 leading causes of non-fatal injuries that are treated in emergency departments. And so you can see in red are falls. So every age group except those between the ages of 10 and 24, falls are the #1 reason for coming to the emergency department. The #1 non-illness reason. And even for that 10 to 24 age group, it's the second largest reason for those visits. So although it's particularly, falls are particularly a problem for those older adults, they happen at all ages. And they say they're very young because as they're learning to walk, they stumble and fall and are unsteady on their feet, and then older adults. Okay, now talking about your coach job description. Here's some of the things that you have already been trained by a master trainer. There was 8 hours worth of training, as you'll recall, and with teachbacks where you taught things back to the class. You work under the license of the master trainer, which is at this point is me. You agree to maintain confidentiality with participant information. And I know all of you are very used to keeping client information confidential, but you did sign at the time you had your training that you would keep all information that you learn from these classes about individuals confidential. And that's also something that you talk about at the first class with Matter of Balance, is that everyone in the group will keep information that's discussed confidential. A Matter of Balance is a copyrighted program, so it needs, and it's an evidence-based program, so it needs to be delivered as it's structured, as it's written. Classes are to be set either once a week for 8 weeks or 2 times a week for 4 weeks. At one point it was just 2 times a week for 4 weeks, and then they did open it up that it could be once a week for 8 weeks. So whichever works best for you as a coach and for the people that you're helping. And some would much prefer having it in the 4 weeks, which is kind of nice because you really keep people rolling and keep people in the kind of in the groove. for the class. But 8 weeks also works really well, and especially for some groups, that's just they can only work to get together once a week. So 8 weeks also works well. Following the curriculum, you do need to do each activity. Each session is marked as has activities, and each of those activities need to be done unless it says that they're optional. There also are a few activities in the back of your coach's manual that you can use, and it tells you when you can use them replacing a different activity. But otherwise, you can't just say, oh, I don't want to do that activity today, or I don't like that one, or whatever. Because it's evidence-based and we need to follow it, each activity needs to be done. There are options sometimes with the activities, so choose the one that you think will work best with your group because each group's different. All the classes are designed to be about 2 hours long, but with that includes a break of 10 to 15 minutes or so the participants can socialize. We oftentimes have a snack if you can. People love to have a snack break. And at the least, they say to have water available, but it's nice to have a snack if at all possible. If you're doing a program like at a facility or somewhere where they can provide the snack for you, that's always nice, or you can bring it in. But you do need to have that break. We do sometimes with the last class when there is graduation, we call it, instead of having the break in the middle of the class, the middle of the 2 hours, which we usually do, you will say if it's all right with the class to leave that for the end, and then have a little graduation and some socializing snack time at the end of that class as their graduation party. And the other thing is to be sure and engage the participants in discussion. That's why we're all called coaches instead of teachers or leaders, is because the participants learn so much from each other, and getting people to discuss, which can sometimes be difficult, but getting them to open up and talk about their experiences and what they've done to modify how they do things. They just learn so much from each other. And then having a welcoming atmosphere, that's so important too, that everyone knows that we're very glad that they're there, that everyone's opinion is respected. You have to be careful that people aren't chit-chatting when someone's trying to talk, or that there's, make sure that we know that everyone's opinion will be respected. You can disagree maybe, but in a respectful way. Not that that's a big problem, but it's just something that, again, that's discussed at the first class. But just that you're very welcoming as they come in, and in talking with each other, and make it a fun environment, because this really is a fun class, and people will come back if they're enjoying it and they know that it's a very welcoming, fun environment. Other things with coaching, coaches teach in pairs. Very, very important. I've had people say, well, my co-coach isn't available, so I'm just going to do it myself. That really, unless something happens immediately preceding the class where you can't postpone it or do it differently or find a substitute coach, you really, really need to have 2 coaches at each class. And we'll talk more about why, but, well, right here it does. To support for participants at varying levels of ability. So by having 2 coaches, especially with exercises, one can be helping someone or watching and seeing how people are doing as the other coach is leading the exercise. So it really has to do with safety too. We did one time at one of my classes, and I've taught quite a few, one person was standing up and they just started to sway as they became dizzy, and we were able to, one coach was able to rush over and just help them get seated. But it's very important for safety. And then just with teaching, I mean, I wish I right now had a co-coach with me to do this update training, because it's so nice. First of all, the person doesn't have to listen to just one person for, close to 2 hours. And bouncing things off each other, helping each other with activities, being backups to each other. If someone forgets something in an activity, the other coach can help. So it's nice for you as a coach to have someone else to work with. It also makes it more fun, but that it's a dynamic teaching style that really helps. Be sure you've worked with your co-coach prior to the class. What we usually do is, of course, you get together with your co-coach prior to the first class at some point and go over who's going to handle which activities, who's going to do what, who's going to be responsible for what part of the class. And then how it has always worked best for me is then immediately following the first class, we stay after class as coaches and go over the next class, the next session, and say, hey, how about if you do this, I'll do this, you do that. And that way can work on our own section, but you do need to have looked over the whole session to know exactly what happens throughout that session, but you know which parts you're going to be responsible for. I have seen coaches not do that and just try to wing it or do it right with the class, and that just does not work well. You need to have a plan, and these are the activities I'll lead, these are the activities you'll lead. I've also seen where someone wants to, they have, well, I'm the coach and this is my helper, and that's not really how it's supposed to work either. I mean, sometimes we pair an experienced coach with a new coach, and then the experienced coach can a little bit take the lead, but it is a shared coaching experience. So both coaches will have responsibilities, is the best way to work it out. So again, be all organized with what you're going to do in the session, study the entire session so you know what happens that day, and then the parts that you will lead. Do not try to just wing it. It's always a good idea, especially before you start classes, is to review the area in your coach manual that has dealing with difficult or different people. Just because if you do have it come up that either someone's, they are chit-chatting while you're trying to talk, or they get argumentative in some way, or they contradict things, or just difficult or different, that you have some strategies already thought of how you can deal with those individuals. Arrive early to set up your classroom. You want it set up, it doesn't have to be a big area, but it has to fit for the number of people that you have, so that you do have room for exercising, so that you have chairs that are sturdy, that are not on rollers, that can be used for the exercise. And it's best to set it up, if you can at all, in either a circle or a U shape, or a square, or be at one big table around the edges, something where the participants, you don't want it set up as a classroom where everyone's facing forward. You want everyone to be able to see each other so they can have good discussions. At the beginning of each session in the book, they have an icon that shows supplies, and then they list what you'll need for that class. So be sure you have those things with you. On classes 1 and 3, there are videos. Be sure you have the video, and be sure you have a video player, a TV or something that will, a computer, whatever you need to have projector to show the videos. But those videos are to be shown at classes 1 and 3. See, you also have flip charts. Make sure you have the flip charts and that the flip charts are put together as it said. You have one thing is the agenda for each class, that you have that already written out on the flip chart, and we've used the same flip charts year after year, session after session with that, and you review at the very beginning of the class what your goals are for that day, and then you also, after the first class, you review what you had done the time before, what you're going to do today, and then at the end of the class, you can go over briefly what things will be coming up at the next class so that the participants will know what to look forward to. I've already mentioned this, but to supply at least water for a break, or ask the participants to bring water with them or something to drink. Serving a healthy snack. We do want to keep it, since this is a health promotion program, we try to have the snacks be healthy, but everyone likes to have a snack break. And so within that 2 hours, you do have a 10 to even 20-minute break for snacks and for socialization. And then be sure at the end of class that you stay after class to answer questions, so that people know that you're available to them. Sometimes they want to ask a question or something that they don't want to bring up in the whole class. So make sure that you're available to them after class. And as I said, oftentimes then how we've worked it over the years is that the coaches will stay after class to decide how they're going to lead the next class and who's doing which activities. Okay, just a little bit more about the design of Matter of Balance and who it's meant to benefit. Matter of Balance is a class that is about fear of falling. So we're looking at community dwelling older adults that do have a concern about falls. If you have someone that says, well, I've never even thought about it, I don't have any concerns, which I have had people say in classes, and I'm like, okay, well, you came to a fall prevention class, so you must have some concern. But usually we are, and most people do have a concern about falls, because we all know it's a huge problem. Sometimes people have sustained a fall in the past. That's what brought their concern. Or I've had people that they haven't fallen or haven't taken a bad fall, but they know someone who has, and they've seen the downward spiral someone can start on, starting with a fall. Maybe they were starting to restrict activities because of their concern about falls, because we certainly talk about that a lot in this class. They're interested in improving their flexibility, balance, and strength. So they want to do the exercises that we do to help with those 3 things. And then they're 60 or older, most people. Sometimes there's someone younger because they may have some type of chronic conditions, such as Parkinson's disease or something else that makes them have a real fear of falling, and they want to work on that early on. So certainly we'd allow someone younger. But people need to be at least somewhat ambulatory, and then also able to problem solve. I just had an inquiry about having this class at an adult daycare, and I said, well, you need to really talk with the daycare director about who they would have in this class, because the people really do need to be able to problem solve. So if someone is at the daycare due to dementia and they really aren't able to do the problem solving part of things, then this class isn't appropriate. But it just need to, if you're looking at your setting, make sure that the people that are coming, that you know that they are going to be able to follow along with the program and do problem solving. Okay, some of the things that participants learn, it's to view falls and fear of falling as controllable, that they have control over these things, both their fear and they can do things to make it less of a chance or things less hazardous for them to do as far as falling. That they set realistic goals about increasing their activity. We talk about it over and over in the class. I think it's great to emphasize, do not be too sedentary. Get up and move, or move as you're sitting watching TV, but not to increase activity. Keep moving as one of the biggest things so that they don't lose strength, they don't lose endurance, don't lose flexibility and balance. Okay, people learn about changing their environments to reduce the risk of falls. So again, very important things they can do around their environment. And then to promote exercises to increase strength and balance. So all those exercises we do, as simple as they are, really do promote strength and balance. Okay, what happens during the sessions? Well, it's group discussion. We talked about that. Is for people to share their experiences, their knowledge, things they've done to compensate to make their homes safer from falls, that makes themselves strategies they've thought of to work around doing these things they enjoy, so that they are continuing to be active. Problem solving goes along with this. What I've just been talking about is finding solutions to real life situations. I had a gentleman once when we were talking about this, he said he still wanted to go fishing down by the riverbank, but he didn't feel confident getting down on the grass on the bank. So as a group, they came up with ideas that using an assistive device instead of fishing off a pier, going with his son, having one of those canes that also has a little seat on it. So it was really a fun exercise, and this is just one example that happens often, but about problem solving, or someone about getting their laundry down to the basement and having to carry things on those basement steps. And we found that someone said, well, I put everything in a pillowcase and throw it down the stairs before I walk down. And so we had all different kinds. Another person, and thing we had is you can put things in a bag that would go over your shoulders so that you could use both hands going up and down. Then there's also, with this assertiveness, is just asking someone to help to bring the clean clothes back upstairs, or even changing where their laundry unit is put in their home. So just all kinds of simple solutions or bigger solutions. Skill building of learning ways to think about changing behavior. So just to slow down, think about what they're doing, be very conscious of their movements, or looking at how they do things in a different way. Assertiveness training is the importance of letting others know what your needs are, and asking for help when it's needed, asking for help in small things so that you're not going to need help in big things when you're actually hurt after a fall. So asking for the things you need, or if it's just to ask if they could take a hold of their friend's arm as they walk into a darkened restaurant, so when their eyes are adjusting so they don't take a spill. Just simple things that people can do to let their needs be known. Sharing practical solutions, so that's what I've already discussed, is listening to suggestions from their peers that are really very practical, useful solutions. Then there's the 2 videos that we talked about on sessions 1 and 3, one about just that you can take charge of your life and it's not too late to learn new things to do in order to reduce your risk of falls, and then it's also not too late to start exercising. No matter where your starting point is with exercise, everyone can improve their strength, balance, flexibility, mobility. And then exercises are not started until session 3, and then starting with session 3, where you talk a lot about exercise, but session 3 through 8, the exercises are done at each of those classes. Okay, these interventions, they focus on changing misconceptions, because people have some ideas, oh, I'm just older, I'm going to fall, or there's nothing I can do to change how things are going to happen. So we do talk about those or that, oh, hips just break and then you fall, which really doesn't happen all that often, but it's a big misconception. But talking through any misconceptions they may have. Teaching skills that we really want to promote self-confidence, that there is a way to do things you want to do. You need to be self-confident. You may need to take things more slowly, be more focused, but you can control your risk of falling. And instilling the belief that your efforts will make a difference. So, put in the work and you're going to see outcomes, good outcomes. And encourage adaptive responses that are positive in the face of difficulties. So let's just look at new ways to do things, to continue with the things that are important to you, that you want to do. We've used we'll talk about this in cognitive restructuring here. So, cognitive restructuring, that's turning negative thoughts into positive thoughts. And that's where you define what barriers or obstacles you see in a new behavior, and then you identify how you can overcome those barriers to things you want to do, and then plan for realistic, feasible experiences and expect success. So one thing in this area, we talk about Bob. There's a scenario about Bob, and he has been invited to his friend's house. And he wants to go, but there's a flight of stairs to get there, and he feels he can't get up those flight of stairs. So his first thought is he'll just say no, or he'll make up an excuse of why he can't go. And then how he would feel if he didn't go, that he would be lonely and it's depressing. So what could he do to go? And things like that, he would, well, first to think about the fact, well, I've been up a lot of flights of stairs in my life and I never actually have fallen down any flights of stairs, so I can still do this. Ask for some assistance in getting up the stairs, or making sure he's holding on to that hand railing and doing the stairs. So what things, how could he change this around and say, yes, I can do this. Yes, I'm confident I can, and I will feel better. This is how I will feel if I'm able to still do that activity, that I will then be able to socialize with my friends. I'll get to do things I want to do. So those are the ideas behind cognitive restructuring, re-looking at things that you've had negative thoughts about that you can't do and changing it around you. How can I do those and what positive things will occur? So it's changing behavior. You might have that red light, and we use a light, a traffic light. That's part of one of the sessions. You'll go through this very thing that the red tells us not to go any further. Don't proceed. You can't do it. And then the yellow tells us, yes, you can proceed, but with caution. So you've got to figure out what needs to be done. So then you can get to a green light of trying this new behavior. Okay, is a matter of balance an exercise class? I think that sometimes when people hear there's going to be a class called a matter of balance, that the whole class is going to be exercises, and that's not the case. And I like to say the word a matter of balance means that it's, and they talk about it in one of the videos, it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act to stay active. So you have to both not have the fear, do the cognitive restructuring, and that's what this class is designed for, to rethink fear of falling, to rethink how to continue to be active. So it's a cognitive restructuring class, not that that's how you would sell the class, but that is a big part of it. It's designed to help people empowered to increase activity. Something we're always looking for is increasing activity. And then exercise is a component of matter and balance, but it is not an exercise class. I know people, that's probably one of the people's favorite parts of the class is learning and doing the exercises together, but they also get a lot out of the cognitive restructuring and the rethinking their fear of falling. What people say about the classes, and these are some things that have been said at classes that I've taught or other people right in our group have taught, or things that we've heard. So I'm not going to read through each one of these, but those sort of made me more aware of what can be done to make my home safer, that they love the time to meet and discuss with others and the exercises. We have just satisfaction surveys run very, very high with this class. But other things, I'm picking up my feet more. I'm not trying to carry too many groceries. So one thing I talk about is, you can purposely be inefficient with your groceries. Actually, that's a good thing when you're carrying, because carrying too many things is a huge fall risk, but also if you're making more trips to carry things, you're also increasing your activity, increasing your stamina. So do that on purpose. And the use of assistive devices, I'm using my cane when I walk on my lawn, because lawns were when you're walking on uneven ground is another big fall risk, but using this assistive device or holding on to someone's arm or hand. Turning lights on. Another one I had with a lady is she had her answering machine on her phone was set to answer, to come on after like 2 rings. So she said, I'm always running to the phone. And we're like, oh, no, you can get that fixed. It doesn't have to come on after 2 or 3 rings. And she came to the next class and said, I had my son was over, I had him fix my answering machine, so now it's like 8 or 10 rings, and so now I don't have to hurry to the phone any longer. So, things like that. Or we talk about, hey, if someone's knocking, let people know if they're coming to see you. Hey, it might take me a few minutes to get to the door. I'm here. Don't give up. Or when calling on the phone or coming to the door, just give me time to get there so that you don't have to hurry and maybe have a fall. Some people need to just be more careful and be more paying attention to what they're doing. So sometimes we get too caught up in talking with someone as we're walking and not paying attention where we're going. And it's a huge problem now with young people, but any of us looking at our phones, or you see a lot of younger people texting as they walk, and they're having falls because of that. And another thing that we talk about, it's brought up here, is talking to your doctor about falls. And if you've had a fall, and don't keep it a secret, you do need to let people know, because there are interventions that can be done. It may be due to a medication, and your doctor or pharmacist can review your medications and see if there's ones that you're taking that may cause more of a fall risk, or also maybe you do need some physical therapy or assistive device that your physician can give you a referral for physical or occupational therapy, or something that can help you reduce that fall risk. A few more quotes. They liked being able to share and talk about things, the person didn't feel any longer like they were the only ones that were having this problem. They realized with their group how many people had the same concerns and the same problems they did. Got me to exercise. It's like 99% of people, when they take this class at the end, say they intend to continue to exercise, which is great. I mean, we know that it might not be realistic that 6 months, 6 weeks down the road that they are, but it may be too. We've had classes that have continued to do the exercises from this class on their own, either choosing someone to be the leader or taking turns being leader, for several years after the end of the class, that they're still getting together and exercising, which is just wonderful and is a great outcome that happens with these classes. Finally, talking about being positive, relaxing more, and that even can help you be less likely to fall. And one person that it motivated them to work more on their health in general. Okay, fidelity. This is an evidence-based program. It has to be taught as written. So with Matter of Balance, unlike some evidence-based programs are scripted, Matter of Balance is not scripted, but you do need to follow the activities. So when is a duck a duck? So when can you make small little changes that fit well for your group? Or when have you modified, have we modified to enhance the program and adapt it to our group? That's okay, it's still a duck. Or have we modified to the point of creating something entirely different? There's the flamingo. So you can make minor modifications. They even talk about things that you can do to modify, but you need to do it basically as written, and just you can add a few things that you know of, or bring up things, or if someone has questions on something, that's fine. But we still need to stick with the program. Okay, so here are some of the things that help in maintaining fidelity. You must have, of course, completed 8 hours of training. You can't say, oh, I'm just going to bring we do have that healthcare professional that comes in, which I think we talk about maybe here, yeah. But you can't say, oh, I'll just use this physical therapist I know as my co-coach. She knows all about falls. No, it has to be someone that has been trained in a Matter of Balance. Again, 2 coaches, I can't stress that more. Choose who's gonna options that work for your class, but follow the curriculum. Don't just skip activities unless there's options. I had one person, I came into their class, this was years ago, but she was doing 2 exercises and then going back to things, talking about things or other activities in the class, and then coming back and doing a few more exercises. So she was going in and out of the exercises. No, that's not how it's done. They're done all together, the whole group of exercises in classes 3 through 8. Do the exercises as described and in the order that they're set forth. So you follow that exercises just as they're prescribed, and don't just decide, well, I like a different kind of exercise, it'll get to the same thing. No, we follow what's in the exercises and in the order they're provided. And actually, when we've had a number of physical therapists that have looked at these exercises, and they do say that they are the type, exactly what they'd be using in this situation anyway. Have that guest healthcare professional come in, any session 4 through 7, and we found 7 works really well, but you can have, if that doesn't work out for the healthcare professional, which is usually a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, or it can be a nurse also, but the participants love to have that professional there to ask, to answer their questions about assistive devices, about oftentimes it's a big concern about getting up off the floor, getting in and getting off chairs, getting out of bed, getting up and down stairs, but particularly getting up off the floor is a huge concern people have. That there are 8 sessions. We've talked about this. There aren't 6, there aren't 9. That you'd have the 8 sessions either once a week for 8 weeks or 2 times a week for 4 weeks. Of course, if something happens that you can't have a class one week, maybe it's bad weather or someone ill, or you don't have the room that you're going to have, you can then have it go. You have to get all 8 sessions in. If you have to make the time longer, well, that's just what you need to do to adapt. Class size, we say 8 to 14. And I say 14 at the beginning, although 12, they say no more than 12 is best. But oftentimes you're going to lose people along the way. They get ill, they signed up for this, but now they're going on vacation or whatever. So you can start with as many as 14, but you don't want to start with fewer than 8 because you just need enough interaction. Plus, there's 2 of you, so you're using your time. You need to have enough participants to make a class worthwhile. So you don't want to start with fewer than 8 people. To have a viable class. And participants, to be considered completers, need to come to at least 5 of those 8 classes. So we want them to get enough of the information through this program to be considered a completer. They need to go to 5 sessions. Okay, just a little talk about the sites for classes. Really, holding the classes anywhere older adults come together is great. So housing the, what do they call it? The community room in a housing complex, the senior center or a meal site, libraries, many of them have rooms and want to promote community activities. Any other community centers, of course, retirement communities, continuing care communities, churches, those can be a great spot if they have a group for older adults anyway within the church. Oftentimes they're very interested in this kind of programming. Other community spaces, a bank that have a conference room. Banks, again, are more than happy to do this type of community service. Fraternal organizations, so the Elks Lodge, the Kiwanis, the Veterans Association, if they have room, and they have also their own the people within their organization who would like to join the class. That's a great thing. Hospitals, they oftentimes have rooms for the community, and they want to reach out to the community with this type of health promotion or health clinics. So those are all ideas. Anytime you can get like I said, a group that's already meeting together, a group of older adults, that's a wonderful group to go to, because then you're not having to start from scratch to find people. Also, if you can get a champion, like someone at a senior housing facility that's an activities coordinator, that will get the group together, or the person that's in charge of the meal site, or at a church, the parish nurse or whoever works with their older adult group. So all of those things, are an outreach coordinator at a clinic. So all of having someone as a champion is a great way to get classes going, because it can be hard if you're just starting from scratch saying, hey, we're going to have a class here, to get the older adults to come. It is a commitment on their side because there are 8 sessions. And they think, oh, 2 hours for 8 sessions, why do I want to do that? But once you can get them there, or if you have a champion or someone who's had the program, been to the program and can talk about how great it is, they love it, and they will, they'll come. And sometimes it works really well that one class will generate interest in another class, or people, after they take a Matter of Balance, then are interested in Tai Chi, or maybe the Walk with Ease program, because they want to continue now that they've become more active and are more confident about building on their activity. They want another program that they can go to. So this is just, I think this is a really nice chart of Matter of Balance, that it's, you have lead trainers. There's lead trainers from Maine Health that train master trainers, and then the master trainers train coaches, then the coaches train the participants. So that's just as a chart of how that all works. And it's considered, the other thing is, it's a lay leader model. So as a coach, you do not have to have, although I know many of you do, have expertise in healthcare, you don't need to be a physical therapist or nurse or a social worker or an activity director. Not that that's not great, because it is. But older adults themselves that really have an interest, that have been through the class, or anyone, it is a volunteer lay leader model class. They started it as only being nurses, I think, way in the beginning, and they determined that they could have equally as good results with well-trained leaders, lay leaders. Okay, I am going to end this part of it soon, here after a couple more slides of the presentation and our review, and we will be going through practicing the exercises, but first we do need to talk about a few more things about doing the exercises in Matter of Balance. So one thing is that each participant must sign the participant agreement, or they call it the Part Q in your coach's manual, That's the agreement that says that they are able to engage in physical exercise. You pass that out at the first session, and there's a sheet that asks them if they have any certain conditions, and then there's a sheet that they sign, and it is a liability type thing where they're saying, yes, I know we'll be doing some simple exercises and I am able to participate. We talk very much about the participants agree to work within their own comfort zone, and that'll be different for everyone. They'll look at those 7 questions to see if they're ready to exercise. If they answer yes to any of those questions, it's suggested that they talk with their physician before they start this or any exercise program. It is up to them. They just need to sign the agreement, the participant agreement. But that is a suggestion that they talk to their doctor. So that's why we give it out at session 1, because by session 3, they need to have given us back a signed participant agreement so that they can exercise. If they don't, they're going to need to be asked to refrain from exercising until they do. Many people just sign it right off, say, I know I can exercise, my physician wants me to exercise. But if they have any questions, they need to talk to their physician before they start with our exercises. Okay, exercises are another area where the 2 coaches are really essential. One coach can be coaching the exercise that you're doing, and the other coach or demonstrating it, and the other coach can go around and watch, help participants, be there if anyone looks like they're a little unsteady. So you really want those 2 coaches both really watching the participants. And what normally I do with my co-coach is we take turns doing exercise, demonstrating the exercises. But you can do it any way that you want. You just need to determine beforehand how you want to demonstrate the exercises with your group. Make sure you maintain good posture and talk to them about that. Talk about breathing while you're doing the exercises. And of course, you do those breathing exercises as part of the whole exercise routine. Talk about wearing safe footwear, and to set a good example yourself by wearing safe, comfortable, stable footwear. And we talk about this very, very often, is for the person to exercise within their own comfort zone. If when we're doing standing exercises, they don't feel stable to do that, they can remain seated for all exercise, any and all exercises, but to stay in their comfort zone. We oftentimes have people that do come to the class with their walkers or wheelchairs, so they just need to think about what they can do and at what level they can do that and work within their own zone. And then through the exercises, we're going to, as we see with the group, as they can tolerate, increase in repetitions. So it'll stay anywhere from 3 to 10 times that you do a certain exercise. And that's all written in the book. So follow what they have and then make sure and have fun. That's the other part, because the exercises are fun. Okay, other things about the exercises is no music. That comes from the Matter of Balance lead, because they want everyone to be able to hear the instructions, and as nice as music can be, it can be distracting. The coaches, they are in your coach manual, and actually with what the participants have in showing the exercises, it does explain why you do different exercises and what areas they are targeting. So you want to have read that beforehand, but sometimes it's nice to let the participants know why you're doing what exercises and what it's good for. There are coaching tips that you can read ahead of time too, and be sure and do that with the exercises. You want to, again, this is the same thing with the comfort zone. Tell the participants to listen to their bodies. Maybe they've had shoulder surgery and they know I can't lift my arm above, a certain area, or their knees. They know that, or they've got a plate in their ankle, whatever, that they need to go at their own pace and know their own bodies. Again, they can be, the exercises can be done, even the standing ones, while still sitting. And if they are in a wheelchair or that, just tell them to do the activities with their arms or their legs, whatever they're able to use. And just encourage with people, but do help them. Some things are a little more difficult, and to take your time through these exercises. And it's not, none of these are done for speed. They're done for strength and flexibility, mobility and endurance. Okay, before I go into the second half that will be done separately with the exercises, I wanted to let you know that give you Stephanie Lebenz's contact information here at Aging Resources if you need to get a hold of her, and if you're not able to get a hold of me, that you can get a hold of her. So this is Stephanie's information. Okay, thank you so much. I know you've had to listen to an hour of me talking, but I hope this is helpful to you going forward as you continue on being a coach. We're so happy to have everyone coaching. We're sorry for the time that had to be taken off due to the pandemic, but we're very excited to have people back leading these classes, and so thankful that you're willing to do the Matter of Balance classes, because they are just, the participants get so much out of them and are so happy to have had them, and do really decrease their fear of falling and increase their activity level. Thank you.